Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take a look at another one of Garja's maps, Cascade Range, one of my personal favorites, loading in the Northwest Territories image just there.
You stand no chance against my skilled legions? Surrender now.
I better surrender. He's right. I love this map, and it's because of these. These play a role in why I think this map is one of my favorites. But let's take a look around. Just behind your base, you start with a really quite large sort of cliff. Obviously, this doesn't really play any role in the game, but aesthetically, it's absolutely wonderful. Like, look at the snowy sort of grass that becomes this sort of greener grass with the flowers on it, and there's no snow for the rest of the map. I mean, on the mini-map it is sort of pale, but there's no actual snow. But, yeah, clearly symbolizing that we're in a mountainous region, sort of. You saw it when we loaded in which area of Canada that this sort of is. But you follow this sort of cliff around, and then just as the cliff ends, it meets the water, which is wonderful. And then on the other side, you have your opponent's cliff there. I love this map, and I don't know. I just wanted to point out how nice it looks, and then compare it to sort of images, and you can see like geographically how accurate it really is. Just such a credit to Garja for expanding to the map pool and creating some really wonderful maps for the tournament to play out on. And by the way, this is, as I've said in all of the other videos, going to be in the tournament. Here we have, of course, the website. Do go and sign up. Click here to sign up. eso-community.net. Here's the map pool. It's going to be good. I mean, I'm going to be in it, but I don't expect to go, anywhere near the semi-quarter or anything like that. I'm just going to have some fun, and I would encourage everyone to do so. But why is this map my favorite? Let's get on it. Not only does it look good, but, what would look like a, fairly plain map is my favorite. Why is that? Well, firstly, it's non-standard. Doesn't have any trading route, though it does have access to a small sort of level 1 treasure. In this case, it is apparently sunflowers, not the regular kind that are worth 140. Level 1 treasure can be a sort of coin treasure, not always though. So it's not actually standard because, still kind of difficult with 10 coin to get hunting dogs.
See? That
kind of thing. Yes, he agrees. And no trading route, as I mentioned. Though it does have a fairly generous starting hunt, but that is it. That is genuinely it. The rest of the hunts on this map are very, very scarce. There are not very many of them at all. You've got some elk here, and where is the rest of your hunt? You do have berries, so that kind of makes up for it, but so you still can, stay on your base, but it's not going to be good. You're still going to have to play aggressive, and that's the key thing here. There are not very many hunts, and even the coin mines, they've only got 1,500 in. They are tin mines. This map is like Yukon in terms of how bloody it is. It's going to be really, really fun to watch games on. I mean, there are berry patches, but they're, not that good. Exactly how many hunts are there, you may ask? Well, let me tell you. We do have, in the notes for this one, give me a sec, 10 tin mines. You do the math, 1,500 times 10. 10 small elk herds, 8 berry patches, so there is, quite a lot of food, but it is, very slow to gather. 1,000 in each of these. And, lots of trees, and there's 6 skulls of fish per sort of river. And I think these will play a part in some games. I genuinely do. I mean, you're not going to be going full eco on there, absolutely not, but they'll probably see play. And here's why. It's a low hunt map. It's an aggressive map. That's the point we've been getting at, right? And you're going to have to be aggressive for map control to take the hunt that does exist and, win and play that way. So I guess that's pretty much it. But as that sort of runs out, you'll be like, there's no food left. And you might have to switch to here. You're not going to send schooners as your first cut. It's funny that I mentioned pioneers, because I think maybe that might be viable on this very aggressive map. But there's, you might, send schooners, as one of your final colonial age cards, just as you're running out of good cards, and you'll be like, then, when it, won't be so impactful, because obviously early game shipments are worth so much, later on they're kind of not worth as much. Because 700 wood at the very, the 4-minute mark is insane, whereas 700 wood, 20 minutes in isn't as good. But, then you might start building a couple of ships here and there just to gather some food. It could be interesting. Next up is the Nootka settlement. This, I think, adds to the reason why I said pioneers might be viable. Consider French. We've seen games where, the French are just sitting there like, hey yo, you can't come at me, I got all my vills in this area, and you just can't attack them because they got their army there, they got, you know, their economy there, one big ball of stuff, and French villagers are really strong, even without pioneers. Let's load up the Nutka here. There's an upgrade. Villagers gain 50% hit points. That stacked with the market upgrades with the French villagers and pioneers. Imagine an all-in strat on this aggressive map where you play France and you just, like, I don't know, have some timing, crossbow pike timing, and then you just sit, like, gather their resources with villagers on the other side of the map. I don't know when you'd send pioneers, or even if you would send it, maybe, or even if you would even gather. I don't know. But maybe this might not be a thing. But you just sit there, and they try and push out and defend, but you got all your vills sitting there, you're gathering, you're just keeping them contained, and eventually you'll win. Like, that would be so cool, that kind of strategy, and I'm glad the Nuka are on this map to facilitate that. What else do the Nuka have, though? Let's take a look. That was one of my favorite things, and the other one has a really cool upgrade as well that I think is definitely going to see play in some games. Alright, what else? We got this one here. Nuka Clubmen require 10% less wood and train 50% faster. Well, this requires, and it costs 300 food and coin, and this requires us to know exactly what Nuka Clubmen are. 15 wood! What, it removes... What, so you're telling me it removes the 1.5 wood? That's complete BS. It should just remove the entire 10% less wood. This isn't ever going to see play. And who wants to train those things 50% faster? Nuka Clubmen, like all natives, train at the speed of light anyway. But, you know, having said it, is a reasonable... It's one of the better native units, actually, simply because it costs so little wood. It's, you know, clearly superior to a pikeman. Absolutely. Maybe we'll see some native strats. Maybe. Well, it's definitely it's a pikeman style unit that is just got different resource configurations, costs, you know, a lot more food. Doesn't have quite as an insane multiplier, so maybe it's not quite as good as I thought. But still, it's got a lot of hit points. Alright, so there's that. Loyal Nutka War Chief allows your explorer to train a War Chief. It costs 200 wood and 200 coin, the research does, and then you can train a War Chief. I guess we ought to take a look at that sort of War Chief. Nutka War Chief. Wow, this is one of the units that you just don't realize. Oh, it costs 200 food and 100 wood. Oh wow, that's, you know, fairly expensive. It's really stacking up now. But I believe this guy takes only 10 seconds to train. He has 400 hit points. He has an area of 4. Holy balls, that's like a great bombard, this guy. He's like, you know, chill smacking it. Melee 24 damage, and he's got the same... He's basically one of those clubmen we just looked at, but superior in every way. But, you know, think how disciples, think how war dogs are sort of popped out of nowhere. This, you know, could see play. But then again, it's fairly expensive. Probably not. There are probably way better things you'll find resources. This would be so good. Like, it'd be so cool that if it was cheaper. And that's, I think, an inherent problem with these. I just think, you know, the natives need rebalancing to a large extent. And then, of course, you've got warrior societies and champions, which are those just, you know, regular upgrades that every single one of these places have. Next up, we do have, where is it, Klamath. The upgrade I was talking about. Receive a crate of 100 wood every 3 minutes of the game time up until half an hour, which is a lot of wood if you think about it. And wood is, as we know, the slowest gathering resource, the most expensive to upgrade in terms of gather rate. If the game goes on for the 30 minutes and you need to start switching to mills and plantations, oh ho ho, hello. I love it. This is going to be, I think, one of the more fun maps to watch. Next upgrade, 100 of each resource, increases villager gather rates by 5%. Quite expensive at the very beginning of the game, but the later you go, it's basically, you know, not going to say no to that. Imperial bureaucracy, almost, for every civ. And then increases Klamath Riflemen by 25% in terms of damage. Not that expensive, and then the other two, of course, upgrades for their Klamath guys. Let's take a look at the Rifleman. It's not that good, honestly. And it suffers the same thing as every other native rifleman does. It's just its range damage is in the wrong slot. Like, it's got much less attack and much more hit points compared to a regular skirmisher, and that's what it is. Does ×2 versus the same things that it does. It's also bad because it costs a lot of wood, and as we know, wood is, as I said, a slow resource, etc., etc. Don't like that. But yeah, you know, riflemen, skirmishers always sit at the back, you kite with them and you protect them. They don't really need to have a lot of hit points because they don't take very much damage. So, it's just, like, the fact that they have less attack just makes them less good. And that's it, really. There's not much else to say. They need their, I think, cost rebalanced. So that upgrade unlikely to see play, but this one, perhaps. Do leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Do let Garja know what you've been thinking of these maps. Give that man some love. Spent a long time making all these maps for the tournament. My name's been Interjection, and I'll see you all again next time. Been taking a look at Cascade Range.